All right, Aqora lovers, today is the day their Aqora Hub M3 has been released. It has been talked about so much anticipated about this amazing hub, but is it all it's cracked up to be? Been testing this out for you guys, and today I'm going to tell you what I think about it in its current state, and is it a purchase that you need to do or not? Let's jump into the video. All right, first things first, I want to thank Aqora for sending this out to me for a full, honest review, but this is not sponsored in any other way. All my opinions are my own and not even reviewed by the company, so they're hearing this the first time that you are also. All right, let's go ahead and talk about the big thing about this hub and what it's all about, and that is all the multi-protocols and connectivity, because that's what hubs are about, taking your little accessories and bring them to a centralized location and automate them, or sending them to another system that can automate them. So what can this new hub do? Well, obviously it can do everything the M2 did, had Zigbee, had Bluetooth, it worked with Lady A, it worked with Google Home, and my primary platform, Apple Home. This new one now has Thread, meaning that their new Aqora Thread devices like the P2 motion sensor and the P2 contact sensor don't have to go directly into Apple Home for automation. It can actually go into their Aqora Hub for automations. Now, downside, or what I expected out of these new devices coming into the new hub, is more functionality. And unfortunately, I can't report that it has any more functionality, except for it can now communicate, to more core accessories through the hub. It has the different automations or more choices for automations. But for instance, there's been rumors, which you never buy on a rumor, that this push button on the contact sensor would now be exposed to the Aqora Hub. Well, unfortunately, that setting is not in their Aqora app, at least not yet. Will that come? Who knows? It's a rumor. Secondly, on the P2 motion sensor, you're limited to what it's defaulted, and there's no settings in their Aqora app. They said the settings would be coming, but unfortunately, there's no settings on range or cooldown periods. So whatever's currently in here, that's all you get. Hopefully, these settings will be coming for these newer Thread accessories, but currently they are not. And there's two ways to get this into Apple Home. It is Apple HomeKit certified, so you can scan the QR code for Apple HomeKit and bring it in that way. And you can also use the Matter code and bring it into Apple Home. You probably only want to do one or the other. I tested it both ways and I didn't see a difference between the two. Also, the entire hub can be exposed to Matter, meaning that if you have another hub that supports Matter, like my primary Matter hub, which is the Homey Pro, which is awesome, you can bring the entire hub over to Homey Pro and all the child accessories that are already attached to the hub, and it automatically comes over. You want to be careful if you're using Apple Home integration or HomeKitty in Homey Pro, because then you have double the amount of accessories in your Apple Home app. So just be careful of that. You're going to have to turn that off if that's one way that you want to get the Aqora accessories easily into Homey Pro. And talking about Homey Pro, Aqora also works with third-party accessories via Matter, but unfortunately it is extremely limited. There's actually only like 3 accessories or 3 companies that it currently works with. Works with bulbs with Philips Hue, which I did not test my Hue bridge simply because I'm not willing to bring my Hue bridge into Apple Home via Matter, because it works great over HomeKit and I'm not going to mess that up. Now, it also works with Leviton switches and dimmers that I did test. You actually have to go up to the camera and scan the code and say there is no code. It's not in the list of devices that it currently works with. You actually have to go to the camera icon to activate these. And then it also works with a Google Nest thermostat, which I don't have, so I was not able to test that. So all in all, this is not currently much of a Matter hub. So if you thought this was going to be a Matter hub that can control all your devices in your home, in its current state, it's not even close. If you want something that's a lot closer and a lot more usable, definitely check out the Homey Pro Hub, which I absolutely love. All right, now we got the big things out of the way. Let's talk about some smaller things and give you my overall thoughts and some pros and cons and if I think it's worth it or not. So to set this up was really easy. There's multiple ways. I love that it has PoE capabilities. If your Switch does not have PoE, that's okay. It also has a USB-C wire that you can plug in and get power that way. This also works on Wi-Fi 2.4 gigahertz and 5 gigahertz, but obviously a hub like this, you definitely want to have hardwired. And once it's on your network, this does have local control. And what's awesome, or at least it's really hard to test this, but it says if your network is down, it can actually communicate locally with the other hubs that you have from Aqora, the older ones, if you happen to have them like I do, or you can also migrate those older hubs to this new one if you want to, really easy, except for the original hub, the M1. I had a lot of accessories still on that hub, and that hub did not show up as something that could be migrated over to the new M3. So I had to delete everything and add it to the new M3. It wasn't the end of the world. I did have a couple weird issues. One of the water sensors kept saying that it had a flood alert, but didn't, like, it was just weird. So I just kept deleting it and re-adding it, and eventually it came back to life. It was just really weird about that. But all my other old accessories that I absolutely love, the good old days of Aqora, 4-bolt, great Zigbee products, you can now bring right into your M3 hub also. And don't forget, you can bring the new Thread accessories into the M3 hub also, but these work over Matter. So these are not child devices within the M3 hub. Only the Zigbee and Bluetooth are child devices. So if you want to bring this into other platforms, you'll have to share this out, which I kind of think it's using the Apple Home Thread network. Don't quote me on this. It just looks like it is. It looks like this M3 hub is a router within my Thread Apple Home network. So you do have to add these back in via a new Matter code. It's not the end of the world, but just know that these are not automatically assigned through this hub to Apple Home. You have to re-add them back in with a new Matter code, which, by the way, you get that Matter code within their core app. You just go to Matter and it gives you a new Matter code. You can't use the same Matter code that you had this assigned to Aqora already. And just like the M2 and the M1S, this brings over the DIY alarm system that you can use in Apple Home. Exposes the 4 settings: off, away, night, and home. So you can use this as a DIY smart home alarm system if you want to. This also has the same abilities of the M2 when it comes to IR blasting. Unfortunately, I don't really use IR in my home. I have a few things, but nothing that's near my hub or I would want to connect to my hub. I understand that there's lots of people, lots of situations. If you want that, it's the exact same thing as the M2. I think if you have some AC systems that use IR, you can expose that to Matter and bring that into Apple Home, but it seems to be very limited. It really didn't work for me. I tried it out in the M3 hub just to play around with it, and it seemed like it had download issues to download the codes and everything. I don't know if that's the way it's supposed to be, just because it just didn't work. It worked with my M2 hub, but the M3 hub seems to be having issues with the IR blasting, downloading the code. It would be nice if it did expose all IR things to Apple Home, which bypass it. You can use scenes and bring in the scene through Apple Home. But like I said, I really don't use that, but that option is definitely available. But right now, it seems like they're having issues with the M3 IR blasting code downloads. Aqora also talks a lot about device binding and what happens if a hub goes down. You can have a secondary M3 hub. All in all, to be honest, my hubs have never really gone down, and unless there was a full power outage. So all this advertising about device binding and this will happen, that will happen, it's just a bunch of marketing. And I just feel like it's just not anything that in a real world that most people are worried about. But yes, there is some devices that have device binding that if something does go down, if one of the hubs do go down, the automation can still happen, but it's actually very limited. I think some of the light strips, the relay, and one other device that has device binding currently. So all in all, it's very limited to begin with anyways, and it's just a bunch of marketing talk that most people are never going to use or see. So what did I think about this? Like you can probably tell, this thing is very limited past what a M2 can do. Pretty much M2 and the M3 currently are pretty much the same thing, except for now you can bring your thread or core thread devices into the hub and manage them in their core hub. But there's no extra settings like the rumors say there's going to be. Hopefully that will come at least because you're paying a lot more for these new accessories, and they're bigger and supposedly better, but for the price they're really not. The price of the M3 hub is also astronomical in my opinion. Just get M2 and I think you'll be just fine. But if you did want to experience and wait for a core to have these third-party Matter products exposed to the Core hub so you can automate and have one hub, then hey, it's your money. But I would say just get M2 hub in my opinion if you have to have a hub. But otherwise this has potential, but for the price and for what it currently has, I would say it's not worth it, and you're just gonna have to wait around and see what Core does with this, because right now it's extremely limited. All right guys, that's gonna wrap it up for me. Let me know what you guys think about this hub down in the comments below. Is this something that you're willing to pay for and pick up? Let me know down below. Thanks for watching guys. Hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. I have a lot more new content coming out on this channel. Thanks for watching. See you guys on the next one.